best.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel here. It's Lavender here, and today I am doing a review of Park's, her book, In Order to Live. This is going to be part of my Marxist-Leninist review series video. So yeah, my Marxist-Leninist review series. If you guys don't know, Yeonmi Park is a North Korean de facto YouTuber. I'm not a big fan of her, and the reason why I'm going to put it on the screen. If you'd like to check these videos out, I'm going to put them on the screen. So yeah, she's like a compulsive liar. So I decided to review this book because I really have been wanting to know what all the hype is and how this is such a good book and all this. So I have some notes over here. So if I'm looking down, I'm looking at these notes. So I bought, again, Yeonmi Park's video, In Order to Live. This book is only 273 pages. Something that I find really, really odd about this fucking book, it's supposed to be her whole life story, right? But this book only, this book is only 273 pages. But this is supposed to be her whole life story. It's kind of short, kind of. First of all, I have to say this book is really poorly written to me personally. Like, I'm not the best writer, but how can this be one of the biggest sellers? She said recently she was on, she was gonna maybe be featured on the New York Times bestsellers list, but like her book isn't good. Like, it's poorly written. So here are my notes. We had to kill a tree to make this fake ass book though. So here are my notes right here. On the back of the book, I'm pretty sure, it's called Yeonmi Park again. She's not a human rights activist. She kept claiming on the back of the book she's this human rights activist, and she, you know, fights for human rights. But like, what's funny is she has, you know, been quoted saying, you know, what should we do to help North Korea? And one of her responses was to sanction the oil in North Korea and cut off the oil supply.
Change North Korea is cutting the oil.
So whatever happens, things cannot be worse than what it is now. Like, it's impossible. No way on earth things can get worse than what it is right now. China doesn't want North Korea to be falling into democracy like South Korea.
And, you know, like, you're not a human rights activist if you call for sanctions or getting rid of the oil, because then you're putting a country into devastation, you know, and hardships. If you're a human rights activist, you would never advocate for misery. So right off the bat, that's not a good sign. The fact that she's calling herself a human rights activist and advocating for violent sanctions on the country by the United States. So yeah, and on the back cover, again, she's claiming she's a human rights activist, but like, she puts out lies and stuff about North Korea for like capitalist pig media. U.S. imperialism, Western imperialism media. In the book, she said that she went on a South Korean TV show and proudly said that her mother wore like designer stuff, and how her mother was like the real Asian Paris Hilton. She had a 100% real designer handbag. That's what she said on the show. But in this book, you know, she claimed that there were knockoffs from China when she had just, like, she like switched it. She like manipulated it. She went on the TV show, right, and said her mom was like the Asian, you know, Paris Hilton, that they imported jeans and stuff and designer fashion from Japan. She owned a Chanel bag in North Korea. That's like a $3,000 like purse, right? And she kept claiming she was poor and stuff, and they were in poverty and stuff. But the thing is, she literally claimed they were real on the TV show. But then in her book, she manipulated it and added, well, I just didn't say they were knockoffs from China. She's lying, like literally lying. And she's talking about, oh, I had to eat grasshoppers growing up. Like, no, she didn't. Like, and then in the book, she claims that to escape North Korea, she claims she had to cross mountains. However, her hometown, Hysan of the DPRK, where she was living, was right on the river that divides the two countries apart. There were no mountains to cross. So it's just another contradiction. It says, I am grateful for two things. I was born in North Korea and I escaped from North Korea. Both these events shaped me, and I would not trade them for ordinary and peaceful life. But there is more to the story of how I became who I am today. No offense, but all she did was literally sell out her country so she can like go on luxury vacations and stuff. So it's just kind of like funny. Anyway, it says, North and South Koreans have the same ethnic backgrounds, and we speak the same language. Except in North Korea, there are no words for things like shopping malls, liberty, or even love. At least the rest of the world knows it. The only true love we can express is the worship for the Kim Jong-un regime, a dynasty of dictators who have ruled North Korea for 3 generations. Again, this is a lie. There really is a word for love. I don't know why she came up with this like preposterous lie.
Like in North Korea, there's no movie, no songs, no books about love story. And the word love doesn't exist.
Like, again, I have a video on this if you want to check it out. So, again, horrible liar. And then on the back of this one, it says, our fate and die for the leader. We have deserted our duty. The regime calls us traitors. If I try to return, I'd be executed. She kind of is a traitor. She's literally talking about like lies of North Korea just to sell out so she could become a capitalist. I think my father would have become a millionaire if he had grown up in South Korea or the United States, but he was born in North Korea where family, connections, and party loyalty are all that matter, and hard work guarantees you nothing but more hard work and constant struggle to survive. How is saying that your father is going to be a millionaire like hard work? You're not self-made if you're a millionaire. You exploit people. It's just, how are you a human rights activist? Like, I don't... The one thing I do like about this book is it's calling out imperialist Japan, because imperialist Japan, you know, like, the Japanese were a despotic colonial rulers who tried to destroy the Korean culture as a whole and turn us into second-class citizens in our own land. They outlawed the Korean language and took over our farms and industries. I'm glad she called that out. That is an unknown history of Japan. In Japan, there was this history, again, where they were trying to, like, get rid of everything Korean. Japan is responsible for one of the biggest human trafficking, sex trafficking things ever during the war. And yeah, like Comfort Woman, look up Comfort Woman, Japan, like, biggest sex trafficking in, like, modern day human history. And then here is another thing. It says, according to North Korea, my grandfather Park and my parents were criminals. My father brought and sold goods for profit. In other countries, he'd simply be called a businessman. He bribed officials whose salaries weren't enough to feed their families in order to travel freely in his own country. And while it's true that my grandfather and my parents stole from the government stole everything from its people, including their freedom. That's not true at all. The government never stole people's freedom. That's a complete lie. I don't like how in this book she's trying to make it seem like her dad didn't do anything wrong. She's like downplaying like he was literally like human trafficking both the parents and the father was involved in stealing from the state assets like copper and selling them to China, like just so his family on their own, only his family could be rich. So it's kind of selfish. So yeah. And here's another thing. We could never just say American. That would be too respectful. It had to be American bastard, Yankee devil, or big-nosed Yankee. If you didn't say it, you'd be criticized for being too soft on our enemies. I mean, I don't really blame them if that is true, because, like, the United States bombed and destroyed and killed 20% of the population in the Koreas as a whole. Do you really want, what's wrong, why not call out the United States imperialists? Why do you want to go soft on the enemies who who genocided you? It just doesn't make any sense. And the last note that I have is this. It says, but mostly I couldn't believe how someone could make a movie out of such a shameful love story. She's talking about the Titanic. In North Korea, the filmmakers would have been executed. No real human stories were allowed, nothing but propaganda about the leader. But in Titanic, the characters talked about love and humanity. Again, she's trying to say that you can't watch Western films and you'll be executed if you watch them, which is a lie. You're not going to be executed for doing that. And then she's talking about, again, how there's no love. And she's talking about how North Koreans don't know what love is. That the word, and it was never defined. Again, a fucking lie. It's just, this is a trash book. It's overall poorly written. Out of a score of 5, I give this a 1 because it's fiction. Like, there's so many lies and contradictions. It's like a good United States imperialism fantasy. Like, if you are a capitalist pig and you want to go and take the resources, and sanction a country, I feel like this book is for you. I just don't think it's a good book overall, and a tree had to die for this crappy book.